Hi, I'm Latrina Patrick with Vision University. That is my online platform that's designed to help you become the best version of yourself. We use a mind, body, and spirit approach, and we have been tackling the mind lately as we go through the ABCs of grant writing. We have covered all the alphabet through the letter H. That's the last one that we did. And so today we are going to hit the letter I as we talk about, let's see here. Let me just pull this up for you. We are talking about the investment and most importantly, the importance of being investment worthy. So when you are writing your proposal, it needs to be investment worthy. So what do I mean by that? Funders really care about their return on their investment. And believe it or not, when they give you money for your programming or your organization, that is an investment. And so you need to be able to answer for them, why should they invest in you? Because at the end of the day, that's really the answer they're trying to get. So you do that with your compelling story and all the great things you write in your narrative, but at the bottom line of all of that is really, why should we invest in you? And even if it's not stated, they are looking for this answer as they review your proposal. So you should be asking yourself that question and ensure the answer is clear in the proposal, so that it's not going to be a formal question, so to speak, as why should we invest in your program, but really you are answering that question throughout your proposal, throughout that narrative. So you want to make this, and when you're answering that question, here's a key point. You want to make sure that it's specific to the funder, because that answer might differ depending on who the funder is. So that's why it's always important for you to research your funders, and whether it's a federal funder or a corporation or a private donor, you need to know who you are talking to, who your audience is, and what they care about. And when you can figure out what they care about, then you can easily answer that question for them, because it's going to be different for every funder. So that's something you really need to keep in mind. So when you're talking about determining your worth, so here's some questions that can help you address this, to help you answer this question, and you can do this throughout your proposal. So when you're trying to determine your worth, to why should they invest in you and what's going to be their return on that investment, you're looking at how many people are you going to be served, or how many people are going to be served through your project. So they could probably get a better return on their investment the more people you serve, depending on the case. It's not always about big numbers, but it's about impact. So, and what will be the long lasting impact of the work that you do? If you are going to keep young kids off the streets from doing drugs, or you're going to ensure that more kids are graduating from high school, therefore setting them up for a successful career later in life by them participating in your after school program. Like, what will be the long lasting impact? And the greater question is, what would happen if we do nothing? So if we do nothing about this issue that I've laid out for you, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be more increased crime. There's going to be more teen pregnancies. There's going to be more um, deterioration of the neighborhood or the community. Whatever that is, you want to be able to spell out for your funder that if we don't do something about this now, this is what's going to happen. And then, what's the likelihood of your success? They don't want to invest in something that's not going to be successful. So you need to be able to describe that you believe that what you're proposing is going to be successful. And a big question for funders when it comes to what kind of return would they get on their investment is your approach something that can be replicated? That's a big question for federal funders. They want to make sure that if they fund you to do your program in Atlanta, then what are the odds of them being able, what's the possibility of them being able to replicate that same program out in Texas and have the same success? So that's a really big question to be able to answer, to show them that what we're doing can not only work here, but it can work other places. And that's really important to federal funders. They care about that. And if you're looking at local funding from a foundation or a corporation, then they want to also know, how can this be maybe replicated in a similar community, because if they're invested in that overall community, they want to make sure that the entire community can benefit as opposed to just one section of the community. So they may be looking at it from that standpoint as opposed to a national standpoint, depending on their reach as an organization. If it's a national company, national corporation, then they very well might care about that. So just know who you're speaking to and understand what you need to present to them for them to feel like your program is a worthy investment. And then how will you disseminate the results to the masses? Will you be able to share and show people that what you're doing is working, effective, necessary? That speaks a lot to sustainability, because if people see that what you're doing is working, when it's time for funding to run out, they probably will be the same people who want to put stake in you staying around, especially if it's something that's really benefiting the community. And so that's one way that investors or funders can tell if your program is going to be sustainable, because we talked about this in another lesson, that nobody wants to invest in a program that's only going to stop once the funding or the grant period is up. So if they can see that, you know, you have some community buy-in, then that helps them to feel better about investing in your organization. And then again, who else is investing in your project? Like, that's a big thing. As I recall, when I was working for a statewide nonprofit in Georgia, we went for all there's some foundations in Georgia that are huge. And, you know, one of the biggest is like Woodruff Foundation. And they are one of the ones that set the mark. And so if your organization, say, is getting funding from Woodruff, and you are applying to, say, another big foundation in that same Atlanta area, if they see that Woodruff has given to you, they are more likely to want to give to you, because they have such a reputation of giving to quality programming that you're almost a sure in if you can say, oh yeah, we have money from Woodruff or what. So they also always want to know sometimes who else is investing in your project, because that really will help your case and why they should also be a part of that. People want to be a part of something that's good and something that's big. And so if they can get an investment in that on the front end, that makes them look good on the back end. So be mindful of that. And so having said that, you know, many funders don't care about recognition, but many of them do. Sometimes, again, for the organization I work for in Georgia, we had a really big investment into our project at the very beginning, and we got it from a very popular financial person that's big out of New York, and they gave us, you know, I want to say like it was between $1 and $2 million, but they did it, but they want to remain anonymous. And one of the reasons they want to remain anonymous is because they don't usually give to that type of project. That wasn't one of their funding priorities, but they really wanted to support our organization in that way, but they gave on the condition of being anonymous. That's usually not the case, but that can be. And so a lot of times they want to know in some type of way whether or not you're going to do anything that's going to get them recognition, you know. So are you going to be doing press conferences or giving attention to the funders or putting out a press release, you know? So those are good things that you can do sometimes too. But it's okay to put that kind of stuff as a footnote somewhere that's appropriate within the narrative, depending on what type of grant you are applying for. The feds don't care about that so much, because they're going to put out their own announcements. But when you're dealing with corporations and foundations, a lot of times they do want that publicity. So this is not something that you need to go in depth in, but if your organization has a practice of recognizing donors, it's nice to include this information in some way. And so finally, if you want more information about these types of grant writing tips that I'm offering you, make sure you subscribe to my email updates at visionuniversity.com, because I will send out emails every Tuesday morning with information like this that's very helpful and a lot of information that's inspiring. So make sure you do that. And then coming up later in April, I'm having a new grant writing course. So please make sure you are subscribed so that you can get more information about that. And then, of course, if you want more information about my videos like this, or to catch up on the other ones that we've done up until the letter I, then make sure you subscribe to Vision University on YouTube so that you can get notifications when those videos are uploaded. I upload about 2 to 3 times a week. So make sure you stay in the loop so that you can stay informed and get more great tips on how to be an effective and successful grant writer. So make sure you tune back in for our next letter as we continue with the ABCs of grant writing. But in the meantime, I want to remind you to create the vision for the life that you desire and you deserve, because you are the only one who can.